Hello, you're listening to Environmental Soup through the facility of Trent Radio or on my YouTube channel, and I hope to get my archives up to date. Today I will talk about climate action. There is an event for grandchildren called Climate Action, Is It Helping? On Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 from 7 to 8:30. And it's online, and it's on the Facebook page for grandchildren in Nojawong, Peterborough. And you can also email 4rgmeets@gmail.com. And was there additional? Oh, and this is the description. When it comes to climate change, we all do what we can, whether it's improving home insulation, investing in electric vehicles and heat pumps, or calling on our politicians to make meaningful changes in legislation. But is it making a difference? And then there's 3 members of 4G Board of Directors will be teaming up to provide a little good news related to climate change. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I'll theme it around climate action. More specifically, climate doomerism. I found an article called "Canadians Haven't Given Up on Climate Action. They Just Think Everyone Else Has." And it's research about climate doom. And it's far less common than what people think. And there's a widespread belief that other people don't care. I will also mention that if you're listening to this broadcast, my episodes of Environmental Soup focus on environmental issues, education of some of the environmental issues, and different ways that people can take action. I also have a book club. So I know that people care about climate. So this article says that climate doom undermines motivation to act. And we want people to take action. So sharing stuff that's too late is ineffective. And climate doom is the belief that climate change is an unstoppable catastrophe and that it's too late to take effective action against. And climate doom was the least effective at motivating personal action and among the least effective at changing beliefs or support for policy. It says most Canadians have not given up. And I looked at the All Canadians Climate Doomers, and it says only 11 to 12% of Canadians think it's too late when it comes to climate change. Gen Z and millennials were more pessimistic than older generations, according to this article. And that might be because they are more online and exposed to a lot more doomerism. And this article goes on to talk about that. And it says that men have more climate doom than women. And this is interesting. Blue Sky and TikTok users were more negative. I have seen a lot of climate denial on TikTok, especially. And I am using Blue Sky more often. It's harder to gauge Blue Sky because I can target who I follow more often on Blue Sky. TikTok, not as much, although I can to some degree. The social cognitive theory, the willingness to act depends on whether we believe it will make a difference, by Catherine Hayhoe. And most of the time people don't talk about climate change or hear others talk about it regularly. But we should also show the reality of climate change, clarifying where there's scientific consensus and what actions can be taken to build support for climate policy and action. I have learned in engaging in politics and social and environmental justice that it's important to have conversations where people are at and to find common ground wherever possible. And that has not always been done in climate action. Let's see. There was another article called All Canadians Climate Doomers, and this is in the Centre for Media Technology and Democracy. And then there were some news articles and then they asked questions. When it comes to climate change and actions to address it, which statement is closer to you? And this is the research that was done. So one, it's already too late to make a practical difference. Number two, action still matters even if the problem is serious. And number three, I don't know, prefer not to say. And then respondents who selected the first were deemed as climate doomers. And there was a follow-up question. Question number two, some people use the term climate doomer as a way to say it's too late to stop major harms from climate change and that action no longer matters. Would you describe yourself as a climate doomer? Yes, no, I don't know. And then they found that, as I said, 11 to 12%. of Canadians identify as climate doomers. And then there was a breakdown of based on political party, although not all the political parties are included, based on age, and Gen Z and millennials are a lot more climate doomers. There's a difference between men and women. Well, not as much when asked about question 2. Let's see. And then it talked about David Suzuki's saying that it's too late to tackle climate action. And that was seen by a fifth of Canadians. And there was an argument that comment potentially led to further inaction on climate. And I did make a video regarding Bill Gates' comments as well. There was a article in The Power of Us called How to Talk About Climate Change and the Problem with Doomerism. And then they looked, this is another research, they tested the effects of common 11 messages meant to boost climate change beliefs, policy support, and concrete action with dynamic social norms, work together norms, effective collective action, physiological distance, system justification, future self-continuality, negative emotions, pluralistic ignorance, lateral to future generation, binding moral foundations, and scientific consensus. They found that doom and gloom was effective at sharing climate information, like online. However, it was the worst for motivating action, and the worst for changing climate change beliefs or support for climate change policies. So that should be taken into consideration. And ideally, we would want climate action. So there is positive action. Doug Ford reversed the Greenbelt decision because of mass protest in Ontario. And I would argue that that is part of climate action. The protest, I was at a couple of them, and that is something that was sustained, focused on one issue that caused the government to backtrack on its decision to pave over some of the Greenbelt. And there was a lot of controversy around that. There was also Lower Duffins Creek. There was mass protest regarding that specific wetland and the destruction of a provincially significant wetland. And because of those protests and letter writing campaigns, there was action. And there was Amazon did not build on a provincially significant wetland because of import the public backlash and media let's see. And I'm just going to go to video. Yes, and then sorry, I have a bit of a cough. And then there is climate strategies around at the library. There was sustainable. Kingston had an event that talked about climate resiliency. And then I'm just going to try to see if I can find the event. If you're living in... Yeah, there's the Climate Resilience series. And one event is a workshop for local businesses is coming up March 24th from 6 to 7:30 at Calvin Park Branch. And I don't... Oh, and then community organizations April 1st at 10 to 11:30. And then... Oh, and then there have been workshops shared. Let's see. Local businesses, February 24th. I'll see if I can Oh, those are upcoming events. Oh. I'm just going to see if it's posted. I don't see where it's posted right away, but hopefully I can find it. If not, that's okay. I'll talk about. Yeah, they talked about a climate resilience plan. And I think that's something that you can talk about an organization about. And if I can find it, I'll show. If I can find the document, I can show it on the presentation. I'll show it in the comments on my YouTube channel and archives. And it looked at how vulnerable people, customers or clients, all to climate change, the impact of severe weather, what happens if there's a flooding event, what happens if there's other types of extreme weather, like evacuation plans. It went in depth, and I think that's something that people should look at. And I will look at the environmental registry. I'll see if there's anything new. Comment, policy, regulations, all acts. There are all 3 policy, regulations, or acts, and I will change my screen. The first one is protect area expansions for Missinaba Provincial Park and Woodland Caribou Provincial Park. And that has a number of 019-8972. And you can comment on this until April 5th, 2026. Next one is proposed amendment to the Parkway Belt West Plan and Municipal Zoning Order, Ontario Regulation 482/73, and you can comment on this until March 15th, 2026. And then this one's coming up very quickly. Request for municipal zoning order for industrial business park in the City of London. This has a number of 026-0014, and you can comment on this until March 8th. And I'll quickly look at this. It is under municipal zoning order. So there wasn't consultation required, but they all sharing it anyways. And I'm just seeing if there's like a wetland. I don't see anything on, like, when I type in use Control F. Sometimes I can. Oh, and then sometimes there's a map. Oh, there's a location map. Okay, so nothing. Well, there was. It looks like there was a river and some trees, so there might be major impacts. And there's a planning justification report. Oh, wetlands do show up. So I do think that this should be looked at more closely. But I will go back to the beginning of the episode. Climate action, is it helping? I would say yes, it is, but not the doomerism. I would say that there have been successes, as I pointed out, and there have also been setbacks from the inaction of the current federal government and past governments on climate. But with sustained protest, climate action is occurring, and I have a book club. You're listening to through the facilities of Trent Radio, education about environmental issues. And then a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen behind the scenes, and working groups, advisory committees, looking through official plans. Some things will seem minor, but they have a bigger impact than people think. And comments do influence the decisions of the government. Even if a lot of it was rejected, or may have been rejected, there's some comments that remain, or they may take comments on one issue and apply it to a future issue. I have learned that does happen, and I also learned that it's important to write in advance of any delegation, plan ahead. It's important to focus on one issue, maybe two issues. And currently, Bill 5 and Bill C5, bills that have passed Ontario and federally, are being protested, and that's going through the courts right now, and hopefully there's action to ensure that there's environmental protection remaining. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.